Dolphins defense overview, or as Clouseau might say, Zir is a flaw in Z diamond. Picture this. The Miami Dolphins defense through 5 weeks is like Inspector Clouseau bumbling through a heist. Mixed results, full of surprises, and occasionally stepping on an ant. Dead ant, dead ant. They're 26th in points allowed per game at a whopping 29 and 29th in total yards at 386.6. But hey, as Jim Harbaugh quipped about his Chargers crew, man, you guys are in shape. You've got a heart for football, a face for football. These Fins have heart in the pass rush, racking up 64 quarterback pressures and 10 sacks like they're craving that contact Harbaugh loves. Yet their run defense, league worst, coughing up 174.2 rushing yards per game and 5.6 per carry. It's like they're whispering to runners, come on in, the water's fine. Pass coverage, high opponent ratings over 109 touchdowns allowed, but only 212.4 passing yards per game, 16th place. Not bad for a swim. Vulnerabilities, right side, 8 yards per attempt, ouch. Light boxes, 7 per play. Outside runs, 6 per play, with positive expected points added per rush. A woman is like an artichoke. You must work hard to get to her heart. But these guys are leaving the heart wide open for ground gains. Chargers offense overview. Herbert's got that Monty Python vibes. 'Tis but a scratch. Enter the Los Angeles Chargers offense, ranking 25th in points at 19.6, but 9th in yards at 371.4. Strong passing at 254.6 per game, 6th league-wide, led by Justin Herbert, who's all calm, cool, like quoting Monty Python amid chaos. 'Tis but a scratch. After a hit, rushing's middle of the pack at 116.8, 14th, with 584 total yards and 10 touchdowns. Balance calls, 182 passes, solid completions, but moderate boom plays. As Joey Bosa might chuckle, quoting SpongeBob on Mic'd Up, I'm ready. This group's ready to exploit, but scoring's like a shy date. Yardage, yes, points, hey. Strengths and weaknesses with a side of Harbaugh's opposite of a houseplant. Dolphins defense strengths, aggressive pass rush, 80-90% blitzes, 64 pressures, 10 sacks, time to pressure 2.5 to 3 seconds. Run stops in stacked boxes, 4.6 yards per play, over 100 tackles, stops. Depth with Chubb, 4 sacks. Phillips, 13 pressures. As Harbaugh says of studs, he's the opposite of a houseplant. These guys are tough, loyal, strong. Weaknesses, run leaks, 3.74 yards before contact in light boxes, 3.24 after. Right side 8 per attempt, outside 8.3. Coverage, ratings over 110, 9 touchdowns, few picks, low turnovers like Clouseau asking, do you have a pair of high heels in that bag? But missing the clue. Chargers offense strengths, passing efficiency, 254.6 yards, acing intermediate short zones, balanced with rushing, play action magic, positive rushing yards, over expected in neutral boxes. Herbert's explosiveness, pure gold. Weaknesses, scoring shy at 19.6 despite yards. Red zone blues, rushing average. Stacked box vulnerable. Limited deep threats under pressure. As Herbert deadpans in funny moments, pressure's self-made, but here it's real. Comparison and analysis. Pink Panther, sly. How can an idiot be a policeman? Dolphins run woes, 5.6 per carry, positive expected points added versus Chargers balanced rush, 116.8 yards. Los Angeles could control the clock, targeting right outside for 8+ yards, like Pink Panther's innuendo. I thought you said your dog does not bite. That is not my dog. Sneaky exploits. But Miami's pass rush, 30 to 40% pressures, could rattle Herbert, forcing quick throws where coverage falters, high quick pass TDs. Chargers yardage edges Miami's allowances, but bend don't break might cap scores. Favors Chargers due to run gaps, but pressure creates turnover chances. As Harbaugh asks, who's got it better than us? Nobody. Maybe Chargers here. Porous Fins run D exacerbated by Chargers' consistent gains in play action. Right side 8 yards, light boxes 7. Chargers target edges for yards before contact. Sustained drives. Blitzes force quick Herbert decisions, but secondary lapses. Ratings 100+ TDS. Let underneath exploits like flat slash delay zones humming. Chargers 19.6 points hints red zone inefficiency. Miami goal line in stacked boxes could pounce. Low turnovers upset slim if Chargers rush 150 plus versus Miami's 174 allowed. They dominate, else pass rush competes. Joey Bosa on pressure, opponents shut down. Could that be Herbert? Recommendations, Harbaugh-style, get that weight room cleaned. For Chargers, hammer, right outside runs, target 150 plus yards, quick passes / screens, neutralize rush, hit flat / delay for TDS, play action draws front 7, opens deep if coverage softens, mix red zone runs / shorts for 20 plus points. As Harbaugh enthuses, the weight room, we're getting it cleaned up right now. Clean up those scores. Key players with Bosa's Harbaugh tail for laughs. Bradley Chubb, 4 sacks, 12 pressures, 8 right side stops, 86.5 blitz, 0.91 get off, stud. Jalen Phillips, 1 sack, 13 pressures. Jordan Brooks, 7 pressures, 44 tackles, 17 stops. Tyrell Dotson, 43 tackles, 23 stops, 92.8 snaps. Zach Sealer, 0 sacks, but solid run D. Not much of a specialist, eh? Minka Fitzpatrick, strong safety, cover 3 drops. Russell Douglas, 20 targets, 13 grabs, 118 yards, 1 touchdown. Run support beast. Underperformers, Jack Jones, 4 touchdowns. Ifeatu Melifonwu, 136 rating. As Bosa hilariously shared about Harbaugh, that intense story, pure coach energy. Pass, rush, and run defense. Clouseau, a flaw? The slightest flaw. Aggressive blitzes, 80 to 90%, 64 pressures, 10 sacks, 20% conversion, 2.5 to 3 time to pressure, sub 1 get-offs, tackles control, A-gap, edges, upfield, off-tackle, vulnerable like Clouseau's blind lookout quip, run stats, 5.5 to 8.7 yards per play allowed, positive rushing yards over expected mid-yards, neutral 7.2, light 5.5, 10% stuff, 1 touchdown, stacked 8.7, explosive. Directions, inside 5.6, no stuffs, outside 8.3, 33% stuff, 3 big gains. Strengths, edge rush, negative expected points added, stacked outside, bend don't break. Weaknesses, deep intermediate breakdowns, inconsistent stuffing, high post contact, 6.26 neutral, 4 quick TDs, leverage rush for quick throws. Fitzpatrick shines, bolster light / neutral fits, pink innuendo, work hard to get to her heart, but Dolphins leaving run hearts exposed. Short yardage and overall run defense, Herbert pressure, self-made. Short, 38 plays, 30 runs, 78.9%, 182 yards, 6.1 per play, 6 TDs. Outside, 9.8 per play, explosive stacked, 4.75 touchdowns, inefficient, neutral, 5.3 high after contact, light, 6.3, vulnerable, inside, 3.1, 4 TDS, high run percent, 20% TD rate, best outside, negative expected points added, worst stacked. Overall, 304 plays, 156 runs, 51.3%, 876 yards, 5.6 per play, 7 TDs, stacked. Positive, 0.09 expected points added per rush. Neutral, 0.08 post-contact issues. Light, 0.22 explosives. Inside, 0.18 interior struggles. Outside, negative 0.09, but big plays. League worst 175 yards per game, positive 2.2 rushing yards, over expected per attempt. Weaker light / outside edge fails, better stacked, but red zone woes. Improvements, personnel, schemes. As Bosa on injuries, I don't think I'll ever be 100% again. Feels like this run D. Overall performance and situational analysis. Harbaugh, not crazy. Struggles, 29 points per game, worst-ish, 386.6 yards, 29th. Run worst at 174.2 per game, 871 total. Pass average, 212.4 16th, 16 TDLS, conceded short yards, 62.5% runs, positive 0.90 expected points added per rush, 5 TDs, red zone pain, long, balanced, near 0 expected points added, solid pressure, shotgun, more passes, better efficiency, minus 0.19, 7 TDS, medium, high pressure, 41.9%, run woes, 6 touchdowns. Harbaugh, I'm not crazy, but this D might drive you there. Quarterback performances against Dolphins, Pink Sly, Dead Ant, Daniel Jones, low deep, 3. High intermediate, 15. High short, 11. Strengths, short, intermediate accuracy. Weaknesses, deep curbs. Josh Allen, no deep, low intermediate, 11. High short, 17. Strengths, short TDs. Weaknesses, no vertical. Bryce Young, moderate deep, 5. High intermediate, 15. Moderate short, 10. Strength, resilience. Weaknesses, deep picks. Justin Fields, low deep, 4. High intermediate, 14. Moderate short, 9. Strengths, balance middle. Weaknesses, limited boom. Drake Maye, moderate deep, 5. Moderate intermediate, 11. Moderate short, 7. Strengths, efficiency. Weaknesses, volume reliant. Miami strong deep coverage, weak underneath. High shorts, intermediates, TDs, and flats, outs. As Pink Panther jokes, Ward, I think you were a little hard on the Beaver last night. Innuendo for those underneath hard concessions.
Dolphins defense overview. The Dolphins defense through the first 5 weeks has shown a mixed performance, ranking 26th in points allowed per game at 29.0 and 29th in total yards allowed per game at 386.6. The unit excels in generating quarterback pressures with 64 total and sacks with 10, indicating a strong pass rush, but struggles significantly with run defense, allowing a league-worst 174.2 rushing yards per game and 5.6 yards per carry. Pass coverage is a weakness, with high opponent quarterback ratings often over 109 passing touchdowns allowed, though the pass defense allows an average 212.4 passing yards per game, ranking 16th in the league. Run defense vulnerabilities are pronounced on the right side with 8.0 yards per attempt, in light boxes with 7.0 yards per play, and on outside runs with 6.0 yards per play, with positive expected points added per rush indicating inefficiency. Chargers offense overview. The Chargers offense ranks 25th in points per game at 19.6, but 9th in total yards per game at 371.4. It features a strong passing attack, averaging 254.6 passing yards per game, ranking 6th in the league, driven by quarterback Justin Herbert. Rushing is average at 116.8 yards per game, ranking 14th with 584 total rushing yards. There are 10 touchdowns total, showing efficiency in yardage but lower conversion to points. Key trends include balanced play calling with 182 pass attempts and solid completion rates, but only moderate explosiveness with limited deep threats in some matchups. Strengths and weaknesses. The Dolphins' defense strengths include an aggressive pass rush with high blitz rates of 80 to 90% for key players, generating 64 quarterback pressures and 10 sacks, disrupting opposing quarterbacks with average time to pressure of 2.5 to 3.0 seconds. Run stopping in stacked boxes is effective with lower yards per play at 4.6, and consistent tackles and stops over 100 total in heavy fronts of 8 or more defenders, with players like inside linebackers Jordan Brooks and Terrell Dotson excelling. Depth in the front seven provides versatility with multiple contributors, including outside linebackers Bradley Chubb with 4.0 sacks and Jalen Phillips with 13 pressures. Weaknesses include overall run defense, allowing high yards before contact per attempt, such as 3.74 in light boxes and yards, after contact per attempt at 3.24, with vulnerabilities on the right side at 8.0 yards per attempt and outside tackles at 8.3 yards per play in mid-yardage. Pass coverage breakdowns feature high opponent completion percentages, quarterback ratings over 110 on deep and intermediate targets, and 9 passing touchdowns allowed, with few interceptions at 2 to 3 total. Turnover generation is low with few interceptions and forced fumbles, limiting game-changing plays. The Los Angeles Chargers' offense strengths include passing efficiency, with high yards per game at 254.6, and strong intermediate and short zone accuracy, such as high completions in out, curl, hook, flat, and delay zones across quarterback performances. A balanced attack with solid rushing volume complements passing, allowing play-action opportunities and effective in neutral boxes with positive rushing yards over expected per attempt. Key personnel provide quarterback-driven explosiveness with potential for big plays in the middle field and quick throws. Weaknesses include scoring inefficiency at only 19.6 points per game, despite high yardage, suggesting red zone struggles with lower touchdown conversion. rushing mediocrity at average yards per game of 116.8, and potential vulnerability to stacked boxes with limited explosive runs and fewer 10 or more yard gains. Deep passing limitations in analyzed quarterback matchups rely on short and intermediate throws due to pressure, reducing vertical threats. Comparison and analysis. The Dolphins' weak run defense with 5.6 yards per carry allowed and positive expected points added per rush aligns poorly against the Chargers' average, but balanced rushing attack at 116.8 yards per game, potentially allowing Los Angeles to control the clock and exploit right side and outside runs, where Miami allows 8.0 or more yards per attempt. Conversely, Miami's strong pass rush with 30 to 40% pressure rates and splits could disrupt the Chargers' potent passing game at 154.6 yards per game, forcing quick throws where Dolphins' coverage is weaker, with high touchdowns allowed on quick passes. The Chargers' offense outperforms in yardage at 371.4 per game, compared to what Miami allows at 386.6 per game total. But Miami's bend but don't break style with negative expected points added on some runs might limit scoring. Overall, the matchup favors the Chargers' offense due to Miami's run vulnerabilities, but pressure on the quarterback could create opportunities for turnovers. The Dolphins' defense's primary issue of porous run defense could be exacerbated by the Chargers' offense, which, while not elite in rushing, generates consistent gains with positive rushing yards, over expected, and uses play action to open passing lanes. Miami's right side weakness with highest yards per attempt at 8.0 and struggles in light boxes with 7.0 yards per play suggests Chargers runners could find success targeting edges, leading to high yards before contact and sustained drives. In passing, Miami's aggressive blitzing with high pressures might force Herbert into quick decisions, but the secondary's coverage lapses with ratings over 100 and multiple touchdowns allowed could allow Chargers receivers to exploit underneath zones, as seen in opponent quarterback charts with high completions in flat and delay areas. The Chargers' lower scoring at 19.6 points per game, despite yardage, indicates potential red zone inefficiency, which Miami could capitalize on with goal line stands better in stacked boxes. However, Miami's low turnover margin with few interceptions reduces upset potential. Statistically, if the Chargers rush for over 150 yards, feasible versus Miami's 174.2 allowed, they could dominate time of possession and win. Otherwise, Miami's pass rush might keep it competitive. Recommendations. For the Los Angeles Chargers offense, emphasize runs to the right side and outside tackles to exploit Miami's vulnerabilities, targeting 150 or more rushing yards. Use quick passes and screens to neutralize the pass rush, focusing on flat and delay zones where Miami allows high completions and touchdowns. Incorporate play action to draw in the aggressive front seven, opening deep shots if coverage softens. Monitor red zone efficiency by mixing runs and short passes to boost scoring above 20 points. Key players. Bradley Chubb, outside linebacker, is a standout pass rusher with 4.0 sacks and 12 quarterback pressures, including 8 stops in right alignment, high blitz rate at 86.5%, and quick get-off at 0.91 seconds. Jalen Phillips, outside linebacker, has 1.0 sack and team-high 13 quarterback pressures. Jordan Brooks, inside linebacker, is a balanced contributor with 7 pressures, high tackles such as 44 in linebacker alignment and 29 in left, and leads in stops with 17 in linebacker alignment. Tyrell Dotson, inside linebacker, is a strong run defender with 43 tackles, 23 stops in linebacker alignment, and 71 run defense snaps in right alignment, with high snap percentage at 92.8%. Zach Sealer, defensive lineman, is a pass rush specialist but with 0 sacks, providing solid run defense. Minkah Fitzpatrick is a coverage safety, primarily playing strong safety and sometimes dropping down in cover 3. Rasul Douglas is a high-volume corner with 20 targets in cornerback alignment, 13 receptions, 118 yards, 1 touchdown, and rating 97.5. Strong in run support with 115 run defense snaps and 16 tackles. Underperformers include secondary players like Jack Jones with 4 touchdowns allowed in cornerback alignment, and Efetu Melifonwu with high ratings against such as 136.0 in free safety. Pass rush and run defense. The Dolphins blitz aggressively with team average around 80 to 90% in key players, generating pressure on 64 occasions but converting to only 10 sacks at 20% efficiency. Average time to pressure is around 2.5 to 3.0 seconds, with quick get-offs under 1.0 seconds for top rushers. Splits show consistency. Defensive tackles primarily control the A-gap while sending an edge upfield for pass rush, leaving susceptibility to off-tackle runs. The team emphasizes front seven involvement. Team-level run stats show high yards per play, allowed at 5.5 to 8.7, positive rushing yards over expected per attempt, with offense overperforming expectations but mixed expected points, added per rush with some negative indicating value despite yards. Total runs faced are around 58 across splits. By box type in mid-yards to go of 3 to 6, neutral has 16 runs with 7.2 yards per play, and weak versus balanced fronts. Light has 10 runs with 5.5 yards per play, better stuff rate at 10%, but 1 touchdown allowed and 70% inside runs. Stacked has 3 runs with 8.7 yards per play, low volume but explosive with good expected points. Added but poor yardage control. By run direction and mid-yards to go, inside tackles has 17 runs with 5.6 yards per play, positive 1.18 rushing yards over expected per attempt, negative 0.09 expected points added per rush, no stuffs, 3 10 or more yard gains, and 41.2% light box. Outside tackles has 12 runs with 100% run rate, 8.3 yards per play, positive 3.88 rushing yards over expected per attempt, negative 0.05 expected points added per rush, high stuff at 33.3%, but explosive with 3 10 or more yard gains and 1 touchdown, 100% outside and 25% light box. Strengths include elite edge rush and negative expected points, added on stacked and outside runs suggesting bend but don't break mentality. Weaknesses include coverage breakdowns on deep and intermediate, run stuffing inconsistent with low percent in key splits, high yards after contact per attempt such as 6.26 in neutral indicating post-contact issues, and quick pass touchdowns with 4 allowed. Recommendations are to leverage pass rush to force quick throws where coverage like Fitzpatrick shines, bolster run fits in light and neutral boxes to reduce yards per play and rushing yards over expected, and monitor secondary for deep ball assignments. Short yardage and overall run defense. Opponents faced 38 total plays in short yardage, rushing on 30 with 78.9% run rate, gaining around 182 yards at 36.4 yards per game and 6.1 yards per play with 6 touchdowns allowed. For outside tackles, 6 runs with 100% rate, 1 touchdown, 9.8 yards per play, 2 10 or more yard gains, 16.7% stuff, negative 0.87 expected points added per rush, positive 33 rushing yards over expected, positive 5.5 rushing yards over expected per attempt, 8.75 yards before contact per attempt, and 1.09 yards after contact per attempt. Rare but explosive with all outside and high yards before contact per attempt. Showing poor edge containment, negative expected points added per rush is a defensive bright spot. For stacked box of 8 or more defenders, 11 runs with 84.6% rate, 5 touchdowns, 4.7 yards per play, 1 10 or more yard gain, 18.2% stuff. Positive 0.94 expected points added per rush. Positive 31 rushing yards over expected. Positive 2.8 rushing yards over expected per attempt. 3.06 yards before contact per attempt, and 1.07 yards after contact per attempt. Terrible with 5 touchdowns on 11 runs. Positive expected points added per rush and rushing yards over expected indicate inefficiency despite stacking. 63.6% inside runs. For neutral box of 7 defenders, 6 runs with 54.5% rate, 0 touchdowns, 5.3 yards per play, 1 10 or more yard gain, 0% stuff. Positive 0.52 expected points, added per rush, negative 7 rushing yards. Over expected, positive 1.17 rushing yards over expected per attempt, 2.12 yards before contact per attempt, and 3.21 yards after contact per attempt. No touchdowns but no stuffs, and high yards after contact per attempt suggest missed tackles, 83.3% inside. For light box of 6 or fewer defenders, 3 runs with 37.5% rate, 0 touchdowns, 6.3 yards per play, 0 10 or more yard gains, 0% stuff. Positive 1.49 expected points added per rush. Negative 3 rushing yards over expected. Positive 1.00 rushing yards over expected per attempt. 3.62 yards before contact per attempt, and 2.71 yards after contact per attempt. Low volume with high expected points added per rush, showing vulnerability when light, all light box by definition. For inside tackles, 14 runs with 100% rate, 4 touchdowns, 3.1 yards per play, 0 10 or more yard gains, 7.1% stuff. Positive 0.91 expected points added per rush. Negative 8 rushing yards over expected. Positive 0.57 rushing yards over expected per attempt, 0.81 yards before contact per attempt, and 2.33 yards after contact per attempt. Low yards per play but 4 touchdowns. All inside, low stuff percent, and positive expected points added per rush indicate goal line weakness, 50% stacked. Insights show opponents run aggressively in short yardage with high run percent, scoring 6 touchdowns on 30 attempts at 20% touchdown rate. Dolphins perform best on outside runs with negative expected points added per rush, but worst in stacked boxes with high touchdowns and positive rushing yards over expected. Low stuff percent overall at average, around 8% highlights inability to stop runs at the line. Across all situations, opponents had around 304 plays, rushing on 156 with 51.3% run rate, gaining around 876 yards at 175 yards per game, and 5.6 yards per play with 7 touchdowns. For stacked box, positive 0.09. Expected points added per rush, better yards per play, but positive rushing yards over expected. Opponents run often with high run percent, balanced in and out at 48.8% and 46.3%. For neutral box, positive 0.08 expected points added per rush, no touchdowns, decent stuff percent, but high yards after contact per attempt, and rushing yards over expected show post-contact issues, 48.9% inside. For light box, positive 0.22. Expected points added per rush, worst yards per play, high explosive plays with 12 of 10 or more. High yards before contact per attempt indicates poor run fits, low run percent as expected. For inside tackles, positive 0.18 expected points added per rush. All inside by definition, high rushing yards over expected and yards after contact per attempt suggest interior line struggles, 37.2% light box. For outside tackles, negative 0.09 expected points added per rush, higher stuff percent, and negative expected points added per rush, but explosive with 13 of 10 or more, all outside 33.3% light box. Insights show Dolphins allowed too many yards at 175 yards per game ranking, poorly league-wide. Weakest in light boxes with 7.0 yards per play, and outside runs with high explosives, suggesting edge rushers and linebackers fail to contain, possibly due to emphasis on pass rush. Better in stacked boxes with lower yards per play, but still positive expected points added per rush. High overall rushing yards over expected at positive 339 total means opponents consistently outperform models by around 2.2 yards per attempt. No touchdowns in neutral and light boxes is positive, but 9 touchdowns total mostly stacked, and inside highlights red zone woes. Opponents exploit mismatches running 62.6% in neutral boxes. Run defense key metrics include yards allowed at 871 or 174.2 yards per game, ranking 32nd in the National Football League, yards per carry at 5.6, and rushing touchdowns allowed at 6. The Dolphins' run defense is league worst with consistent positive expected points, added per rush and high yards, before contact per attempt indicating line and fit issues, stronger against outside and neutral, but fails in light and stacked boxes and short yardage. Improvements needed in personnel and scheming to balance the average pass defense. Overall performance and situational analysis. The Dolphins' defense has struggled, allowing 29.0 points per game, among the league's worst, and 386.6 total yards per game, ranking 29th in the National Football League. Their run defense is the league's weakest, surrendering 174.2 rushing yards per game, ranking 32nd, and a league-high 871 total rushing yards. Pass defense is average, allowing 212.4 passing yards per game, ranking 16th. High yardage and points allowed stem from poor run stopping and 16 total touchdowns conceded with 6 rushing, 9 passing, and 1 return. In short yards to go of 1 to 2, 12 pass plays, 20 run plays, 37.5% pass, 2.0 points per game, 6.0 yards per play, 5 touchdowns allowed, negative 0.79. Expected points added per play, 7.3 pass yards per play, negative 0.62 expected points added per pass, 5.2 rush yards per play, positive 0.90 expected points added per rush, 2.09 time to throw, 4 quarterback pressures, and 28.6% quarterback pressure percent. Opponents run heavily in short yardage at 62.5% runs, but Miami allows gains above expectation at positive 0.90 expected points added per rush. Strong overall expected points added per play at negative 0.79, and pass defense, but 5 touchdowns on few plays at 32 total, indicate red zone vulnerability. In long yards to go of 7 or more, 108 pass plays, 107 run plays, 50.2% pass, 6.3 yards per play, 4 touchdowns allowed, negative 0.07 expected points added per play, 7.2 pass yards per play, negative 0.13 expected points added per pass, 5.3 rush yards per play, positive 0.01 expected points added per rush, 2.68 time to throw, 36 quarterback pressures, and 30.3% quarterback pressure percent. This split accounts for most plays at 215 with balanced pass and run. Yards per game at 269.2 forms around 70% of total, allowed yards reflecting overall struggles. Near zero expected points added per play shows average efficiency, solid pressure at 30.3% forces. Quicker throws at 2.68 seconds time to throw, but run defense remains weak. Against shotgun formation, 112 pass plays, 66 run plays, 62.9% pass, 6.5 yards per play, 7 touchdowns allowed, negative 0.19 expected points added per play, 7.3 pass yards per play, negative 0.31 expected points added per pass, 5.0 rush yards per play, 0.00 expected points added per rush, 2.65 time to throw, and 32.3% quarterback pressure percent. Shotgun prompts more passes at 62.9%. Better efficiency at negative 0.19. Expected points added per play than overall, with strong pass disruption at 32.3% pressure and negative 0.31 expected points added per pass. Neutral run expected points added per rush, but 7 touchdowns on 178 plays highlight scoring issues. In medium yards to go of 3 to 6, 28 pass plays, 29 run plays, 49.1% pass, 6.9 yards per play, 6 touchdowns allowed, negative 0.25 expected points added per play, 7.1 pass yards per play, negative 0.47. Expected points added per pass, 6.8 rush yards per play, positive 0.05. Expected points added per rush, 3.15 time to throw, 13 quarterback pressures, and 41.9% quarterback pressure percent. Fewest plays at 57 with balanced pass and run, strongest pressure at 41.9%, and pass expected points added per play at negative 0.47, allowing longer time to throw at 3.15 seconds. High rush yards per play at 6.8 and positive 0.05. Expected points added per rush confirm run woes. 6 touchdowns on limited plays suggest third down failures. Pass coverage and defense. Overall, the unit generates pressure such as 4.0 or more sacks from top rushers, but allows high completion rates and ratings in coverage with 8 touchdowns conceded across splits. In edge alignment with pass rush focus, high snap participation with Chubb at 66.6% playtime and Phillips at 68.8% playtime, strengths include 9.0 total sacks team-wide in this split with low yards allowed per reception on covered targets, such as Chubb with 19 yards on 2 receptions. In deep targets, targets defended low volume, such as Douglas with 3 targets, 2 receptions, 47 yards, 1 touchdown, 149.3 rating. Strengths with Fitzpatrick's interception, keeping rating at 56.3. Weaknesses with high touchdowns at 3 total, and ratings such as Brooks at 118.8 and Armstrong at 118.8 indicating big play vulnerability. In intermediate targets, higher volume with Jones at 5 targets, 3 receptions, 37 yards, 2 touchdowns, 122.5 rating. Strengths with some 0 touchdown performances such as Fitzpatrick and Dotson at 109.7 rating. Weaknesses with 4 touchdowns allowed team-wide, and ratings often over 100 showing mid-range leaks. In long throws, strengths with lower ratings, weaknesses with high yards allowed. In quick throws, strengths with Fitzpatrick dominating at 39.6 rating and 0 yards allowed. Weaknesses with explosive concessions such as Jones at 150.0 rating, 4 touchdowns on 6 receptions, 92 yards, and high completion rates. In cornerback alignment, Douglas and Jones targeted heavily at 33 combined, allowing 210 yards, 5 touchdowns, ratings 97.5 to 109.6. In free safety alignment, low volume but poor efficiency such as Melifonwu with 7 targets, 7 receptions, 50 yards, 1 touchdown, rating 136.0. Fitzpatrick with 4 targets, 4 receptions, 83 yards, rating 38.0, better but limited. Nearest defender has high yards allowed such as 96 for Dotson, in right suggesting separation issues, strength with some players forcing incompletes such as Douglas 100%, quarterback pressure in spots. Strengths include aggressive front 7 with high blitz rates and pressures disrupting quarterbacks, depth at linebacker and defensive line with multiple contributors, such as 5 or more players with 50 or more rushes. Weaknesses include coverage breakdowns with high opponent ratings and touchdowns, indicating secondary struggles, sack conversion with pressures not turning into takedowns, such as Sealer's 0 sacks on 128 rushes, turnovers with low interceptions at 2 to 3 total limiting game-changing plays. Quarterback performances against Dolphins. For Daniel Jones of the Colts, zone categorization based on pass chart. Visualization includes deep 1/2 at 30 or more yards, with 1 attempt and 1 touchdown completion on right side, deep 1/3 at 20 to 30 yards with 2 attempts, 1 completion middle, and 1 incomplete left, hole at 15 to 20 yards middle with 3 attempts, 2 completions, and 1 incomplete, out curl hook with 12 attempts, 9 completions, and 3 incompletes, mostly curls and hooks, middle right, flat delay at 0 to 5 yards, outside middle with 8 attempts, 7 completions and 1 incomplete concentrated in flats left right. Swing behind line of scrimmage outside with 3 attempts, 2 completions left, and 1 incomplete right. Strengths are high accuracy in short and intermediate zones like out curl hook and flat delay exploiting underneath coverage for consistent gains. Efficient in middle field contributing to positive completion, percent above expectation. Weaknesses are limited deep attempts in deep 1/2 and 1/3, suggesting Dolphins' secondary restricted vertical threats, relied on checkdowns potentially capping explosive plays. For Josh Allen of the Bills, zone categorization includes out curl hook at 5 to 15 yards outside hash middle, with 10 attempts, 7 completions, and 3 incompletes focused on hooks. Middle with 1 touchdown, flat delay at 0 to 5 yards. Outside middle with 14 attempts, 13 completions, and 1 incomplete heavy and flats left right with 2 touchdowns, swing behind line of scrimmage outside with 3 attempts, 2 completions right, and 1 incomplete left. Strengths are dominating short zones like flat delay and swing. Converting underneath, throws into 3 touchdowns with no turnovers, effective against Dolphins, blitzes, and quick release scenarios. Weaknesses are completely shut down in deep zones like deep 1/2, with only 1 intermediate attempt. Dolphins coverage forced a dink and dunk approach, limiting yards per attempt despite scoring efficiency. For Bryce Young of the Panthers, zone categorization includes deep 1/2, with 2 attempts, 1 completion right, and 1 incomplete left with 1 touchdown. Deep 1/3 with 3 attempts, 1 completion. Middle 1 incomplete right, and 1 interception left. Hole with 4 attempts, 2 completions and 2 incompletes. Out curl hook with 11 attempts, 7 completions and 4 incompletes, curls left middle heavy, with 1 touchdown, flat delay with 7 attempts, 6 completions and 1 incomplete, flats right dominant. Swing with 3 attempts, 2 completions left, and 1 incomplete right. Strengths are resilient in intermediate zones, like out curl hook leading comeback drives with 2 touchdowns after early struggles, effective in exploiting middle hole for gains. Weaknesses are early turnovers in deep zones, like deep one-third, including one interception, highlighting inconsistency under pressure. Dolphins capitalized on slow starts, forcing reliance on short passes, like flat delay amid season-long first-half issues. For Justin Fields of the Jets, zone categorization includes deep one-half with one attempt, 0 completions, and one incomplete right, deep one-third with 3 attempts, 2 completions, middle right, and one incomplete left with 1 touchdown, hole with 4 attempts, 3 completions, and 1 incomplete, out curl hook with 10 attempts, 8 completions, and 2 incomplete hooks, middle heavy, flat delay with 7 attempts, 6 completions and 1 incomplete delay, middle focused, swing with 2 attempts, 1 completion left and 1 incomplete right. Strengths are balanced. Distribution with strong intermediate efficiency like out curl hook and hole. Using mobility to extend plays, accurate in middle zones against Dolphins coverage. Weaknesses are minimal deep success in deep one-half, with incomplete suggesting Dolphins safeties, limited vertical options, occasional over-reliance on short zones like flat delay reduced explosiveness. For Drake Maye of the Patriots, zone categorization includes deep one-half with 2 attempts, 1 completion right, and 1 incomplete left with 1 touchdown. Deep one-third with 3 attempts, 2 completions middle, and 1 incomplete right. Hole with 3 attempts, 3 completions, out curl hook with 8 attempts, 7 completions and 1 incomplete outs left right. Strong with 1 touchdown. Flat delay with 5 attempts. 5 completions, flats dominant. Swing with 2 attempts, 1 completion left, and 1 incomplete right. Strengths are exceptional accuracy across all zones, especially intermediate like out curl hook, and short like flat delay, yielding high completion percent above expectation, exploited Dolphins' underneath weaknesses for consistent drives. Weaknesses are limited volume in deep zones like deep one-half, though efficient when attempted. Dolphins forced checkdowns, but Maye's quick decisions mitigated this. Overall, for deep attempts, Daniel Jones low at 3, Josh Allen none, Bryce Young moderate at 5, Justin Fields low at 4, Drake Maye moderate at 5. For intermediate attempts, Daniel Jones high at 15, Josh Allen low at 11, Bryce Young high at 15, Justin Fields high at 14, Drake Maye moderate at 11. For short attempts, Daniel Jones high at 11, Josh Allen high at 17, Bryce Young moderate at 10, Justin Fields moderate at 9, Drake Maye moderate at 7. Strengths vary with short and intermediate accuracy for Jones, short touchdowns for Allen, comeback resilience for Young, balanced middle field for Fields, overall efficiency for Maye. Weaknesses include deep restrictions for Jones, no vertical game for Allen, early deep turnovers for Young, limited explosiveness for Fields, volume dependent for Maye. Miami's defense strengths are strong deep coverage limiting attempts and completions in deep one-half and one-third across quarterbacks. Weaknesses are vulnerable underneath with high short and intermediate completions and multiple touchdowns in flat, out, curl, and hook.